Good morning and welcome to our meeting with Aster and Tapas on the history and progress of Bharat Nivas. Very, very grateful to have you here.
I'm happy that Narad and his team have wanted to create a full video on Bharat Nivas. It will be useful and will be happy to share the work of 45 years and more as briefly as we can. Just to touch upon a few landmarks, because there obviously is not time to go into the history of this period of time, which will need a book. And since we are doing a video and not a book, I'll try to be brief on salient points. You know, Mother started Auroville in February 1968. She started Matri Mandir in February 1971. She started Bharat Nivas in July 71. And she wanted the entire campus of Bharat Nivas to be finished by 1972, which would mark the centenary of Aurobindo's birth. I would just do a bit of personal reminiscence in this sense, which links up with what happened when Mother started Bharat Nivas in July 71. The last interview I had with the Mother was in March 71. It happened to be my birthday, and I just went to her. I had no questions to ask. But Mother started to speak about India. And she went on speaking about India. And what she said forms part of the preamble of the Bharat Nivas Trust, which was set up in 2014. So I will quote her words because those words are very significant. She said, India is open to the deeper consciousness and the new forces of the future that want to manifest. India represents the life divine on earth. This is what has to be shown in action, in life, in personality. I am quoting here her exact words. Then came July 71 when Mother started Bharat Nivas. Mother set up a jury and she was the president of the jury. She announced a nationwide competition in the country, in India, for an architectural plan of Bharat Nivas. She chose the plan, which was made by an architect who lived in Chennai called Chakrapani. The model of that plan is in Kalakendra, another building which Tapas will show you later. And at that time, strangely enough, Auroville did not have architects and construction teams. So she gave the work to Larsen and Toubro so that the work could be finished by Aurobindo's centenary. Then something that I think it is very significant to remember all the time and which is with me in my heart and with almost everyone who has worked in Bharat Nivas over the years. She wanted the government of India to fund the campus because she wanted the government to be in connection with the vision of Aurobindo about India. The campus that she chose, the size of the campus is very large. And it was she who chose the size of the campus That is something that we tend to forget, and we think that some architects of Auroville chose the size. It was she who chose the size. She obviously wanted it to be the center of the international zone of Auroville, which was next after Mattivanga. Now, when you see the model, you will see there's a huge auditorium. There is a big round building which she wanted to be a restaurant because she said that the best of Indian cuisine ought to be presented. But since we could not achieve that target, we turned it into a Karakendra, which Tapas will show you shortly. Then she wanted a pavilion of each of the states of India. So she wanted the entire country to be represented, but the diversity and the uniqueness of each state also to be part of the campus. What is interesting here is that for the central buildings, she got the funds from the central government of India. The state pavilions, in the design you will see, they're all the same size and all the same design because she did not want one state bigger than the other. And she wanted the pavilions of the states to be funded by the governments of the states. Now, at that time in 71, 72, a few of the states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu as far as I know, certainly Tripura, those state governments contributed some funds. So she wanted the participation in the building of Bharat of the central government and the state governments of the country. She wanted the entire country to share Aurobindo's vision. It is this fact which we have over the years somehow overlooked. Now, it happened because of circumstances which are beyond the control of Auroville. Mother got the funds from the government of India to begin Bharat. But at a certain time, something like mid-1970s, everything came to a standstill, and let's not talk about that now. The fact remains that Auroville remained as an unfinished campus in terms of buildings. State pavilions 2 or 3 were partly done, or the original plan was modified. The auditorium was done but not finished, and the round building, which is now Kalakiran, which you'll see, the basic structure was done but not finished. Nothing else was done, and everything came to a standstill. The Aurovillian group was given charge of Bharat in 1984.
84.
As late as that, it was an unfinished campus with a vision of mothers, no funds, only the vision to hold on to, and what you do with it. You want to finish it because this was the task given to us. And I would recall here an interview that she gave to Prem Malik, who was part of Bharat and Auroville at that time. I don't know if Roji was present in that interview, but certainly Prem Malik.
I knew him very well.
You know him very well.
Oh, yes.
And he wrote and gave an account of the interview, which is there for you to take if you want. And he asked Mother, but Mother, why do you need an international zone in Auroville? Because the whole city is international. Mother gave a very significant response, which I think will take a long time to assimilate, which was the international zone, like the rest of the city, must be founded on a spiritual basis. And India is the only country in which this foundation of the spirit is being continuous over millennia. Other countries had it, but they have lost it over time. Therefore, Bharat Nivas has to be the first one, and it has to be grounded on a spiritual basis. Because at the level of diversity, there are differences, which are interesting. You learn from diversity. But the real unity can only come at the spiritual level. She said, that is why I am founding Bharat Nivas after Mathavande as the seed of international zone. And I am setting out processes which other pavilions in the international zone, when they come up, can follow. And those where she's made it very clear that each country or culture or continent of the world as time goes by must be based on its spiritual heritage. And the country, the government of that country must fund that pavilion. Like she got the government of India to fund Bharat Nivas. If you have pavilions of other countries in the world, their respective governments must be involved in it, because their involvement means they will share the vision of Aurobindo. And that is a point where we have not yet arrived, because other governments are not interested, as simple as that. And
Did Mother want Bharat Nivas to be the first one and before all other pavilions?
absolutely, because she started in July 71.
Yes.
Mathavande was started in February 71. Bharat was in July 71. You see the gap.
Yes.
The rest of the international zone is still struggling how to represent it. But she laid this, the spiritual is the foundation. The pavilions of each country should be funded by the government of that country, so that they learn of Aurobindo's vision. And she added one more point which is very interesting, which today I know there are some architects who are very conscious of it. She said, when she chose the design of Bharat Nivas, she said, we want contemporary architecture, not traditional Indian architecture even. You see the auditorium, you see the Karakendra, and all the buildings that have come up afterwards, they do not replicate traditional Indian architecture. It's contemporary, it's futuristic. Now these are the few points that she laid out, saying this is the process that the international zone would follow. Because this was in mid-71. She left the body in 73. So these are the processes that she had already indicated in the starting of Bharat Nivas. Well, this said, I will be very brief. In 84, I don't know how I came to be so completely engaged in Bharat Nivas. I was asked by the Ministry of Human Resource Development that was handling Auroville to step into Bharat Nivas. They sent me a letter and asked me to see if we could create a program of cultural activities and others. That's how I came in here. And the first group was Prem Malek, his wife Toshi, me, and sometimes Varadrajan used to drop in. Meenakshi, I'm not very sure because she had her own literary work to do. We had no money in Auroville. We had no money. I would like to recount this to you. When this letter came from Ministry of Human Resource Development, they sent 1 lakh of rupees. 1 lakh of rupees in 1984-85 meant a lot. And no one else in Auroville had a penny. So we took up one of the unfinished buildings. It was called the Tripura. It made a floor with the water seeped up to 12 inches. It leaked, but it had a kind of roof. Kind of. So it suddenly struck me, look, the Indian pavilion has been given 1 lakh. But nobody in Auroville has any money. Therefore, that 1 lakh has to be shared with others. How to share it? This was my instinctive move, and Prem Malik shared it with me, so it was good to do it together. So I must say I ran around how to make that place Tripura. We have lots of photographs which Tapas could show you. Make it usable. And it was usable with that 1 lakh. I said, now we share it. Well, nobody else does anything. I found that the Auroville library, those books were stored in the basement of the amphitheatre. It rained, the books were all wet, they were in boxes, so something had to be done. I had a little car, I put all the boxes in that car, and I brought them to this place. So we shared half the space with the library. I lived there for 20 years, till it had its new building which it has now and moved out. Then we shared 1/3 of the place with the laboratory of evolution which needed. So for 20 years in that one place, with the basis of 1 lakh, we had 3 components, and we had a music setup, we had a resource library of India, we had a place to sit, and it was the meeting place of the whole community for almost 20 years, like you have the Unity Pavilion now. Now at that time, suddenly you realize that Auroville was starting to function. It had entry service, visa service, Roger's office, development group, all kinds of things. Where do you go? There was no place, no building, no roof. We found, Tapas will take you, a place behind the auditorium where we had a roof. And we had kind of walls. I can't say they were proper walls. And a kind of floor. It wasn't a proper floor, but it was a big open space. So we said, our little group, we said to the community, come in here, all of you. And we put in tables and chairs, and including Roche's office, future. We had 30 to 35 units of Auroville work in that space. And we loved working together. We worked for 20 years, and nobody had any money to contribute. I don't know how we managed. Except at the end of the year, end of March, when the government has a little reserves, they used to give us a little money which they used to call the development scheme, which was minimal. What we did, we used that money to upgrade the auditorium, because that was a cultural hub for the community. So that's how we managed. And with little money, you put in a telephone, or you had electricity, or, everything was haphazard with what you had, ad hoc, let me put it like that. And we told everyone that we are never going to ask you to move out. Only when the permanent locations and buildings are constructed in Auroville, then you move out, which was a Bharat Nivas way of helping Auroville grow. And I tell you, Narad, that was one of the happiest times of Bharat Nivas, when we all worked together and nobody had money.
And Roger and his team was working there.
Huh?
Roger and his architectural team,
his whole
they
team
were all
was
working
there. Entry, visa, housing,
Yes.
development scheme, international zone, everything. They were 30 to 35. We were cooking lunch for the schools, food processing was there, everything was there. Then slowly Auroville started to grow. The town hall was the first building. So a lot of these moved into the town hall. Financial growth, housing, entry, visa, Roger's group, they moved there. The next building was actually the SAR building. The entire education complex was housed here for more than 20 years in little places. So they moved there. After that came the Auroville Foundation office. That also was here. the government set up, and the meetings there and everything. Then they moved out. Finally, in the last 2 years came the Auroville archives. They were also here, by the way. They moved out. So suddenly the governing board of Auroville Foundation, as chairman, they realized that, but this is Bharat because everything has moved out. They thought this was the administrative hub of Auroville. It was. They all moved out. But and the library moved out. The school lunch moved out to the Sula kitchen. Food processing has its own building, Naturalma. So Auroville has grown because of those 20 years of this being the hub. Now, a couple of things. During this time, people who came to work in Bharat, because they felt it. They got no money. They were not given any maintenance. They had other work maybe. Some did it on their own. But they felt they must help it grow. So people kept coming and going. It was a kind of rotating group. And then they moved on to something else. They had some other interest and they moved on. But it was because they felt the need to do something. And we didn't know what to do because for our first priority was to upgrade the auditorium so that the community could use it for cultural programs. What we did, they used to sit on the floor. There were no seats. There was no proper stage. There were no acoustics. AC was out of the question. All this year by year, we put it up.
It's beautiful now.
Now, but if you knew what, Tapas would take you there, but if you knew what work it meant. But I must say, Narad, we loved doing the work because it touched our heart and our soul. And I don't think a lot of people realize that it was hard work, but it still touched our soul. At one moment, the government gave us a little money for what they call a youth hostel. So the first guest house was built up in over 2 years. So everything happened like that. Then there came a point where you felt something more had to be done, and you could not finish the state pavilions. It was not possible because all the states of the country, we thought we should have one India space where Tapas will take you, so that everything from all over the country can find a place to manifest. One place. And because we are in Tamil Nadu, we have a Tamil Heritage Center. These two. But all the states, it was not possible to rebuild, We tried over the years. I tell you, we went through every architect in Auroville and outside. They said these buildings are old, the old design was not kept, they have modified the design, they are ugly, they have no foundation, can't be done. We have gone through 30 years of that. Finally, where we are now, well, for one thing, there wasn't a center for studies, Aurobindo studies of Indian culture. Dr. Doshi was the famous architect, was a member of the governing board. He said, but there should be a building for it. We had 1/3 of that building which we shared with the library and all the rest. So he broadly gave the outline of this building where we are now. So this is a great help because it is a big hall which people use for workshops and lectures and meetings. And Aurobindo studies not in the conventional sense of reading his books, but when they have done innovative research work in any area of life, to be able to present it to the community. It has become, people like it, using it. The Tamil Heritage Center is under construction, that's not yet finished. Another guest house came up. The auditorium, thanks to Tapas and her team, they worked very hard. We've reached the stage we have now. Because we used to sit on the floor. It was that, there were no chairs. But today it's, I think, one of the best in the whole of the South. You will have a look. Kalakendra has been converted into an art gallery by some very enterprising architects of Auroville. It's Dharmesh who's done a lot of work. There's a 3-tier gallery and lots of things that are being added on. The state pavilions, they found there were 3 that could be renovated. The first had become a finance and administrative office. The second, which used to be the place which we shared, we're calling it the Harmony Hall. So that can be a place for community meeting because you need another one. It is mostly done, a little bit is left. And the state pavilion next to it is called the Progress Hall, where they have classes in dance and music and etc. Then you have a big open building as you enter the campus called Sochu. That was Aurobindo's 125th birth anniversary, and the government of India had set up a national committee to commemorate it. So it was unanimously agreed, which doesn't happen very often, that there were about 20-25 people, that they should have a Aurobindo Center of Human Unity. So that open space was built up, which has been used for international conferences over 15 years, major conferences where you invite people from major universities and intellectual centers in India and in the US. And at the moment, you don't have conferences there because you have this place, but they have classes in dance and other meetings, and we see what we do with it. That's where we are now, except some time back we felt that we should give a kind of more settled setup of handling the rest of the work that remains in Bharat Nivas. So we formed a Bharat Nivas Trust. This was done on April 4th, 2014. The preamble of the trust is very difficult to live up to. It contains mostly the words of Mother, which are repeated. But at least we have a goal. And we try to move in that direction. That's all we can say.
Will there ever be room for different pavilions of the Indian states?
That's a very good question. This trust was formed, and Tapas could show it to you. The preamble carries Mother's words, and I'll show you some pictures here where Mother has said that India has become. Can you show me that card, Tapas? I'll give you this. This is an exhibition that Tapas will show you. And the quotes are only Aurobindo Mother's. She says, India has become the symbolic representation of all the difficulties of modern mankind. India will be the land of its resurrection, the resurrection to a higher enthronement. That is why for 40 years we have struggled against heavy odds, against a lot of criticism, immense challenges, because we believe this to be true. Then Aurobindo says somewhere that the existence of Auroville is the best chance men have to avoid a general conflict. For a lot of us, and if I may strike a personal note, I was asked to get engaged in mathematics, but what has made me stay and work is its deep significance. So when people say, why is the government giving so much money to renovate old buildings? Buildings that were modified in the plan that Mother chose 40 years back, left untended for 20 years. They're not easy to renovate. A new building like this came up in 2 years. Old buildings are not easy. And I must say the government of India understands the situation. And they have consistently given the funds that they could to complete it. But I wish a larger number of Aurovillians would realize that Bharat Nivas is not only the pavilion of a country. India has hosted. No other country in the UNESCO meeting wanted to host Auroville. They didn't want to. India said, we will host. And if this is the significance of India, and these are not our words, they are Mother's words, Aurobindo's words, then completing Bharat Nivas is a world responsibility. It is not just doing a pavilion, it's a world responsibility. What we have done in this, we realized about a year back that there was a place where we could invite the international zone to put in an office that we could work together. Otherwise they were in the Unity Pavilion and we had very little contact. So we have given a very large space to the international zone in the heart of Bharat Nivas so that we can work together in creating the international zone of the future. There's a lot on that about the pathway which Tapas will tell you. I'll just finish with the final point. We feel that where we are now, we are nearing the completion of this campus, at least for the present phase. 10, 20 years from now, whatever changes take place, that's another issue altogether. And for that we have made a plan. We have a technical team. We've worked out the areas and items of what they need to be done, made a ballpoint figure for each item. And this is list as soon as Tapas takes you round. I'm going to send it to the chairman of the Aurobindo Foundation and to the working committee in the hope that the meeting that they have next week, they will take a serious look at it. It is not just the pavilion of a country. It is what Auroville stands for and its meaning.
And you said that Mother wanted it after the Matrimandir, she wanted Bharat Nivas
She
next.
started it in the 3 months.
Yes, yes.
She started only two, Auroville obviously she started. She only started Mathimandir and Bharat Nivas, that's all. Mathimandir in February 71 and Bharat Nivas in July 71.
And the present government, are they helping?
No, they're very supportive. It is very supportive. The group in Bharat Nivas, I wish you could meet other members of the trust and a whole lot of people who work there. But I understand, to be honest, that many people in Auroville feel, oh, this is going on for so long, we are fed up, it's not finished. And the government of India gives whatever money it gives, part of it goes to Bharat Nivas. But, new buildings are easy to come up. All, town hall, Auroville Foundation, SAR, library, Auroville Archives, all those buildings came up in 2 years. They made a plan, they made a budget, they got the money. You finish it. What do with the old buildings? And you don't even know if they stand on the ground or not. So the number of technical teams we've had to examine, to assess, to give. I mean, we spent 30 years over it. They don't realize that. And it's not because it's the pavilion of the host country, but it has this significance. This significance is there. It is it's a world responsibility. I think I've said more than I should have,
But
I had to share it with you.
from 2014 till today, what have you seen?
Well, I think we meet every week. We have a larger team to work, and we have been able to do a lot of things with Kalakendra and an open pathway with the visitor center, which Tapas will tell you about. We have been able to bring, but the auditorium, we have to have brought it to the state. That's something we've done. Then some of the renovation work of the 3 state pavilions. The 2 guest houses have additional rooms that are being added on. So that's a lot. And we have given a kind of shape to the entire campus and made a list of things that remain to be done. That's important, with a ballpoint figure for each thing. You see, when the infrastructure people came, they said, listen, with little money you did these telephone wires, electricity, and no wastewater management. All that has crumbled. You can't hold on to it. You have to redo the infrastructure. People don't realize, you see, when you put up new buildings, you put aside certain money for up-to-date infrastructure. Our infrastructure is 40 years old. You had a little money, you had 2 telephones. You had little money, you had a bit of electricity. You know, it was like that. They've all crumbled. So you have to, like Papa said, you have to make a reassessment. You've had teams with Tuan and others to reassess, and the whole infrastructure of the campus has to be done.
Now is your moment to ask the world to contribute.
No. The world doesn't have to contribute.
India has to contribute.
Let the world contribute to set up their own pavilions in the international zone. That is the job. What we need now, forgive me for saying so, but it's a reaching out to the community of Auroville. Please see the significance that Aurobindo and the mother attached to Nivas campus being completed. You don't have to give money. The government of India is doing it. But support it psychologically. Feel the need of it. And if we need help, technically or physically, say, we have lived and worked in that place for 20 years. Why can't we come and help you now? That's all.
Wonderful.
I've spoken my heart and soul. There's some who see it, who would like it, and perhaps be in sync with it. There's some who will think I've spoken too frankly. But since you're making a film and you're putting it on the website, I have to share what I have lived through.
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much. Thank you for this.